Hi guys, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on when and where you are watching this video from. My name is Priska and I am going to be your teacher for today. So today we are going to be building an auth system that enables users to register, log in, and get a token. Okay, so we are building with the Django REST framework, and as you can see, I've already created my project in my command prompt. So if you don't know how to create your project in your command prompt, or you are new to the Django, nothing to worry about. I have a video that I made on how to create a Django project before this. So I'll be tagging the link to that video in this video's comment section. So you could just go there, or in the description rather. So you could just go there, click on the link, go watch that video on how to create your Django project, and then open it on any of the IDE that you're using. I am currently using PyCharm. You can use, I think, IntelliJ, VS Code, and so many other IDE out there. Your choice, yeah? All right, so let's continue. So right now we have, as you already know, when you create your newly the Django project, you have your main folder, which I call config app, sorry. So once you open it, you have the necessary settings for your project. So we are going to be focusing on the settings, the URL, because this ASCII and WASCII, you can see it here, these are mainly used for deployment. They are not used in your local system. It's mainly for deployment settings and all of that, yeah? So we focus more on these settings. So in these settings, this is where you do all your necessary settings, database configurations, anything at all, getting the credentials from your env. You do it here, right? So let's move on let's start with installing the necessary credentials we need. So right now, sorry, the necessary packages that we need. So right now, what we are going to be needing, or some of the packages we are going to be needing to install, is our venv and activate it. We will need to install our Django REST framework and our simple JWT. Remember, this is an auth system, yeah? And we need to install our Postgres driver. All right, so that being said, let's move on. So the very first thing to install is the venv. Python -m venv, then venv. All right. Okay, so we can activate it by doing source check bin slash okay bin slash okay is venv slash bin slash activate source venv bin. Okay, so we have currently activated our venv, yeah? You might be wondering, what is venv? This is visual environment. So this is using the Django REST framework. It keeps all your packages for this particular project away from your computer. It keeps it in an isolated environment, yeah? All right, so as you can see here, we have an extra folder right now called venv, yeah? Okay, so the very next thing we need to install is our Django REST framework and JWT, which can be installed with one command. Okay, so let's get the command. That should be pip install Django, pip install Django. Let's get that. All right. Pip install Django, then Django REST framework, simple JWT. All right. Okay, so it is installing. The very next thing we need to install will be our Postgres driver. Pip install PyScope binary. This is our Postgres driver. So this Django REST framework, we are simply telling Django to use the Django REST framework to build APIs. All right, so now that we have installed these necessary things, the very first thing, or the very next thing that we need to do is to create an app. Yes. So we have an already existing app given to us by Django, but this app consists of our settings and configurations and every other necessary things that we need. But for us to start writing code, we need to create an app. So remember that the Django project is allowed to have multiple apps, and now this app that is inside the Django project is more like, see the Django project as an international market, and then the app are like individual shops. So in other words, if you were building an e-commerce project and then you have the part that handles users registration, logins, logouts, and all of that, you can have another one where you handle the product, the cart, every other necessary thing. So you can have two apps, one that manages the users, so that manages only the users features, and then the other one that manages only the product, the other one that manages only the customers. So doing it like this makes it easy for you to handle each of your features even in a large project. Yeah. All right, so the next thing we need to do is to create an app, which is the Django admin starts app. So the name of our app, we are going to be naming it, let's say auth. Yeah. Or should we use user? All right, so if you look at here, we now have a new app called auth. Okay, so you can see the files that it came with. So I will explain these files one after the other. So this is just more like telling Django that this is a Django project, and the admin, this is for our admin. If you run this project, then go to your, Django has something for admin interface. So if you want to access any of your models in the admin interface, you can just register those models right here. And that aside, we have this app, and this app is just telling Django that this app called auth actually exists. That's basically it work. Then we have model. This is where we describe the structure of our table, the data types of our columns, and whatever it is, however it is we want our table to look like. This is where we define that. Now the next thing is the test. This is where we write our test for any of our endpoints we've written that we just want to test before going to test on Postman or all of that. All right, so we have our views, which is where we manage our responses. Our URL calls our views, we manage responses, we call our, from here we call our serializer and every necessary things. Yeah. All right, so then these migrations keeps track of every single change you have done to your database or your table rather. All right, so that being said, we go ahead to create our env file and do the necessary setup. So right here we create a file, we call it .env. All right, okay, so we are going to be putting our databases, which is going to be db name. I think I already have a db name called auth, sorry, system db. I can check later to get that. Sorry, let me check properly to get my db name. I think I'm correct actually. Auth system db. And listen, you can create your own database. Yeah, so what I'm doing here is because I've already gone to my Postgres and created a database on my Postgres. That is the reason I have access to this, or I have the table, the database name. So the next is going to be the db user, which is going to be called my db user. I gave it the name of auth. All right, so if you don't know how to create your database in your Postgres, you can signify in the comment section. I can do a separate video for that. Okay, so we have db. I think we are having db password, which in my case is password. Okay. All right, so we have db ports, which is 5432. Postgres, yes, I'm using Postgres, so default Postgres port is 5432. So the next thing we're going to be having is db hosts, which by default is Postgres, because by default is localhost, because I am currently on my localhost. All right, Then the next thing that we always add, because Django has this habit of um not allowing some sites visit your use your project rather, you get, or your code. So we do allowed host to let it know that is allowed. If you open it in localhost, let it allow it to visit it. Yeah, allowed hosts. Got it. We can do 127.0.0.1 comma localhost. All right. So these are the things we need to set up in our DB. So now that we have done this, the next thing we need to do is go down to our config, open our settings. The very first thing we need to do is, first of all, delete this. The very first thing we need to do is load our .env. Now, we need to set up our database configuration right here. But we can't just be calling this. And even this is a production, yeah. Whatever we put in this our data in our env, our database credentials. Imagine it's a banking system, yeah, and you put your database credentials that contain people's name, password, and credentials to their account. You can't just expose this. And remember, this env we can never push it to GitHub. So we create a git ignore file and put it in the git ignore. So no matter what happens, we don't push it to GitHub. So now for us to use this in our project, we go through the settings by setting it here and then calling it. So even if you have access to our setting file, you can never see the value because the value is in our env. Do you understand that? So for us to even call whatever it is in our env down in this section, we must load it. We must tell setting, please load from our env. And how do we actually do that? If not to do load underscore dot env, right? So for us to import this, this doesn't really import it correctly. I can just do from dot env. Okay, that's it there. So we have imported it. So with this that we've done, we can easily configure our database. So before we go to configure database, listing one of the rules in the Django is that whenever you create an app, whenever you create an app, it is compulsory you add it down here. And remember, we installed the Django REST framework at the beginning of this project, so we have to also add it here. So we call it REST underscore framework, comma, then we now call what is our app name? It's auth actually, not user, right? So this is compulsory. If we don't add this app, whatever URL code we wrote in there or we write in there, the Django will never find it. That is your set. So let's go down to set up our database. So right here is SQLite 3, but what we are using is Postgres. What I am using is Postgres. If I'm using MySQL, that's good. So in my case, I put in my Postgres SQL, right? Then DB name, what should be here should be OS dot e. Okay, that's it. Then let's import our OS. So the next thing should be user. Okay, that's it. So the next thing should be password. Remember, this DB name must match this DB name. You don't come here and say DB, or maybe don't come here and say database blah blah blah, and then you come here and be calling DB name. It will not work. It is not possible. It is not possible. All right, so we have put in our name, user, password. The next thing should be, I think, host. Yes, host. And the next thing should be port. Alright, so with this, I think we are set. So even if you have like multiple databases, we have cases where we have multiple databases. You can also come in here and set it all. This is just the default. If you have any other one, you can just come in here and set it just like you have set this. But let it be the between or within this database curly bracket. That's all. Alright, so now that we've done the necessary setup, there are some things we need to add at the bottom of our settings file. One of them is the simple JWT and the REST framework. Yes, so let's get that and add it. All right. The authentication clause. Okay. All right, I'm gonna get that. Then we add it, and then because we've installed it already, so there shouldn't be issues or anything like problem. So right now we are going to add our REST framework first down here. Okay, so we are importing it right now. Import this. It is from REST framework authentication. Okay, okay, okay. Okay. So let's add our simple JWT, which we will be setting up our access token lifetime, our refresh token lifetime. So that should be simple, right? JWT. Okay. Access. Okay. Simple J. I think I got it wrong. It should be simple JWT. Okay. All right, we get it as access. Okay. Seems to be forgetting this. Let me get it from my notepad. All right, so that's it. We have to import this, of course. Okay, daytime, yeah. So this is just setting our lifetime, our access token lifetime is for 60 minutes, and for our refresh token lifetime is for 7 days. All right, so the next thing, okay, so I think we've installed the necessary things. Okay, so the very next step is going to be us. Which of interpreter is this one? The very next step is for us to come down to our auths, then down to our model. Yes. Okay, no, firstly, we have to create a URL file in our auth. In our auth, let's create a Python file called URLs. Now let's go to our setting and register, setting URL, and register that URL. So it's going to be path. So I want, whenever they want to, that's not it, it should be auth. All right, so I want, whenever they want to access our URL, it should be API/auth/ whatever we give it in our main URL. So right here we are including this. We have to import it. All right, that works. So we have added our, we have configured our app URL right now. Down here, so we can write URLs, but I want us to first of all set up our model. Yeah, so down to our models. So right now, the Django by default, yeah, has this, is already collecting some feeds for us and is handling the authentications for us. So but there is this thing, the Django by default, the main login of the Django by default is always checking the username feed. So that means if we allow the Django to handle the feeds for our table, it is going to be collecting username and password when the user wants to log in. But in my case and in our case, I want when user wants to log in, they log in with email and password, and I don't want to override what Django already have, because the Django is already collecting username, first name, last name, I think email and password, because it's already it will handle our password creation for us, so that it does not store a password as text. It will store it in a more secure way as hash, which is very secure. We don't have to have access to our user's password, right? So what we have to do right now, firstly we have to create our model. We call it user, sorry, capture letter. Now normally you have to do this, models or this. But because this is a user's table, I will want to just modify the one that the Django already has. We don't want to start afresh. We just want to modify. Do you understand? We just want to modify, right? What the Django already has. So we are inheriting the Django abstract user abstract. So that's it. Enter. So nothing like first name and all of that. Django is already collecting that for us. So the very next thing we have to do is email. Unique. For me, I want to put I want to collect phone number from user. Okay. Yeah, phone number can be unique, and I also want to collect the address. All right. Okay. So that I think that's it. So after doing this, the next thing we need to do is, I remember I told you the Django main login logic uses username feed to authenticate user. And by default, you expect that the username feed should contain the username. So what we are going to do now is to reassign it. That username feed will now contain the email instead of the username. So we are now going to say username. Yes, sorry. Username. You see that area? I don't want to put any required field. So the next thing for us to do is define our table name. See, if we don't define this table name, if we run migration, the Django will automatically add our app name underscore our table name. Because in a case where we have like 20 apps, we have cases like that, and then each of them have users table. You get? So Django doesn't want us to mix up each table, different tables to mix it up with different apps. You get? So if you define this, Django will just name it this user. But if you remove this, it will give you the name based on what he wants, which is auth underscore user. So that's why we always remember to put this class method db name, the name of your table. So looking at this, it looks okay, but that's not all. We don't stop here. Reason is that we have changed the Django way of working. The Django, of course, is expected to log in with email, with username. But now we have changed it. We are not telling the Django to log in with email. So this is how our table is. But for this to work, we have to also tell the Django how to create user and how to create super user. We have this command that you can run, the Django admin create super user, then you put in the email and the password, and you create your super user. So if you start your app or your project, then go to browser, run it, and then /admin, you can log in with the email and password of that user. Sorry, username and password. Now that we have done this, we have to tell the Django how to actually create this user. Do you understand? So the very first thing we have to do is create the user manager class. Yeah, we are inheriting the base user. Okay, so the next thing is to create a function, call it create user. Create a function. How to create a function is just with the def keyword, then create underscore user. When you create a function in the Django, automatically you have this self, which means this particular user manager itself. Now you pass in the email, the password, and the extra fields. Django is already collecting first name, last name, username, and password, plus the one we are now collecting, email, phone number, and address. If you want to stop collecting username, you can just do username. You can just do username equals to none. This works, but we want to still collect username anyways. All right. So now the very first thing we need to do is, since we need email, we have to check if not email, raise an error, raise a value error. Okay, so yeah. Then after that, we go ahead to determine to normalize our email. First of all, user equals self dot normalize. This normalize is resetting your email. So not reset, more like making your mail to be lowercase, remove out the extra spaces and all of that. Okay, normalize your email. The next thing is building up the user object itself. So user, okay, that's it there. Yeah, so the next thing is setting your password. So by using this set password, the Django will hash this password for us. Yeah, so this is us telling the Django, this is how we want you to create our user for us. Do you understand? This is how we want you to create our user for us, then return the user. Now this is how we are telling the Django how to create user. Remember, now after that we need to tell it how to create super user, because if eventually you go to create super user, there will be problem. Remember that. So we need to use the same thing here in this place too. So this super user, whenever we are creating a super user, the staff, the super user and is usually true, and the active is usually true. So we want to be sure that all of them are going to be true. So extra fits. Okay, that's it. Is staff true? We are setting is super user true, and we set for active is true. Now after that, we will not check if extra get yes is not true. Raise an error, not super user must have. So we also check if super user is not true. Raise an error. So the next thing is return. Now we are returning what? The create user. Now we are passing the email that is required by create user, the password, and the extra fits. So this is us telling the Django how to create our user and how to create our super user. And this is us we have defined. So after that, we have to do, I think, something object. Yeah, it's somewhere here. Objects. Exactly. So let's give it space here. So with this works. Everything we need is here now. So if we run make migrations and migrate, it should work. Everything should be okay right now. So the Django shouldn't throw an error for us. So let's move on to the very next thing is let's go ahead and create our URLs and our views before our serializer. Or we can just create our serializer file. Yeah. Serializer. Our serializers. Yeah. All right, so we keep that, then go down to our URL. We have two types of URL. Yeah, two methods of creating URL. Sorry. So we have this URL pattern supposed to your square brackets. We have this pattern, then in here we can start creating our path and all of that. We also have this one that you have to I have to do URL pattern. Sorry, I'm trying to get something where you not do router, yes, and then you can define router at the top as default router, exactly, something like this. Then if defining, you can, I think, then you come down here to start doing router, exactly that. You get, but this method is usually used when you are dealing with when you are writing more like a to-do app, so that requires the features for edit, delete, update, create, and all of that. But what we are doing right now is just the auth system. We just need to register and login, that's all, right? So we don't have to go through that method. That is why we are using this method of the URL, right? So the next thing we are going to do is /register. Then the next should be, we are going to call, we have not even created our views here. So open our view file right here. Let me not get you confused. So we are going to create those views later. Views dot, we call it register. We call our view register view as view. Okay, so let's import. First, this view is supposed to be coming from auth. Exactly. So we can go down to this view, create a class, call this. For now, you can just do a pass. And we can. All right. So let's create the other views that we. Oh, okay. I get. Let's go to other views that we have. We have another one part um, slash login. Then views dot register views dot login view dots. Okay, we have our refresh token. All right, slash refresh slash token. Views dot refresh token view. Okay, that's all right. Okay, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Okay. Let's go down to our view. Now let's pass our generic. Okay. Okay. The next thing is. Sorry, we are creating our views. Then, all right. Then we add the pass. For now, we are not writing any this thing. Another one for our refresh. Our refresh token view. Okay. So that's not what we are passing in there. We are going to be passing simple JWT. So what did I import here? Okay. So that becomes the value for this pass. So we leave this for the Django to handle for us. Okay. We are leaving refresh token for the Django to handle for us for with our simple JWT view. And this is supposed to be import from REST framework dot from REST framework import all right. So that's being set. Yeah, we are back. All right, so we have created our URLs and we have pointed them to a view. Now this view we are don't mind this is because of my interpreter. So this is the interpreter I'm pointing to. I will check that up. This is just for my IDE, but this is correct. So right now we are going to start with register endpoints. we should be calling our serializer. Oh, we haven't created the serializer yet. Let's open our serializer. Then let's call it. Let's create a serializer called register serializer. Okay, why is my what is wrong with my IDE? That. So let's keep it as pass for now. Then in our view, we are going to be calling the register serializer. Alright, so we don't have an error. Let's leave it like this and then go back to finish up with our serializer. So in our serializer, we are going to create our class meta, where we are going to define the model name and all feeds. Yeah. So the model name, okay, is there. The next thing, okay. So the next thing is going to be feeds. So we don't need this. So shouldn't we be doing all feeds, or we should just list each and every one of them one after the other? All right, so we can decide on that, but for now I think we should just list them one after the other. Yeah. So our username, our email, the very next thing should be phone. The next thing should be address. And okay, I think I will leave it at that for now. Then the next thing will be, yeah, let's leave it at that for now. Then let's move on to our validate function. No, this handles validate. So shouldn't we be calling this validate email? Yes, we should call it validate email. So this is us validating our email. All right. Sorry, second. Okay, email. All right, so the very next thing should be, all right. Okay, so the next thing should be we filter by mail and then raise an error if not. Okay, so we say something if user object filter email exists. So email already exists. Then the next thing should be we create. Yeah, we can go ahead and create. Oh, sorry, let's return a value. Then create a function for create. All right. No, we are not going to do that. We are not going to do that. So we are going to put in our every necessary things we need to create one after the other. So both our username, our email, every single thing will come one after the other. So we'll now say username, okay, email, phone, address, okay. So and then we are going to return that user. Then we will return that user. Return user. All right, so this is it for our create serializer. Okay, the very next thing to do is go back to our view, down here, call our create function, pass our arguments. All right, create. Okay, that's it. The next thing is get our serializer request data and then move on to check if serializer is valid. Serializer, sorry. There's an exception, and then use dot serializer dot, what the hell am I doing? User equals, okay, serializer. Oh yeah. So now if we ever don't call this serializer, despite what we have done in this here, it will not save. Yeah, so if we don't call, where is our view? If we don't call this serializer.save, it will not save in our database. Rather, we will end up getting a successful message instead. Yeah, so now let's do a return response. Yeah, let's do a return response, our data, and every necessary thing. Return response. Okay. Okay, so we can call it message. Yeah, so we can pass our data. You can just say username. We can just say no. We can just say user name. We can display our email, the phone number, user phone. Then we can display our address. All right, so and then we can just return our status, right? After that, status. All right, so our status 201 means created. If we do 202, it means it was successful. All right, so but 201 and 200, that is 200, and 201 means all of them were successful. Yes, so we use 201 because we are doing created here. I don't mean we are returning list of things or checking something. We are definitely going to be using 200. Exactly. So this is it for our registration. And if you think I was fast, you can just pause the video and watch it over and over again until you get it right. Okay, so where am I seeing this? Oh yeah, that's okay. So let's move on to the login, which is not really that hard itself. We will just call the serializer class. We haven't created our serializer. But that aside, we can just call the serializer class too. So we call it a serializer. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do for our login serializer is to get the username feed as the email, remember, and then we validate. So that's basically it. Okay, username fields. Right. Okay, so validation, and the very next thing we are going to do is our super.validate. Okay. Data user equals id save dot user dot id. Next comma, another thing should be username save dot user dot username. Okay, so for this yellow that keeps coming, what is it telling us to do? Okay, I hope that works. Yeah. Okay, so we continue to add our email, our phone number, and our address. Listen, this validate here has already done all the validation for us. The Django has that power. This validate here record has done the validation. It has already compared both the username, sorry, the email and the phone number. It has compared it. Remember what it did? The username feed equals to the user.email feed. So we are automatically telling the Django to, when it wants to validate, remember that this our email feed is equal to our username. So you can always call our email feed for you to validate, which is as good as our username. Yeah, so that's what we are what we have literally just done. Yeah, then the next thing is to, a message and a, let's just do a message further. Okay, login successful, then you return your data. All right. Back to our view. Okay, so that's it. So literally, we have our registration, our login, and our refresh token. So right now, for us to be able to test this out, so we have to run our make migrations. If we have any errors, we will find a way to resolve that. So right now, let's run python manage.py make migrations. So did we import something wrongly from the env? Import the env. All right, so there is issues, no module name .env. So let me find that out. All right, okay, what could be causing this error? Okay. So trying to figure that out. Okay, we actually did not install the package. Okay, so let's Okay, so let's install the package. Pip install python.env. That's what I wrote. Look at it here. Pip install python.env. That's what I wrote. Let's see if the error will disappear. It is still there. It is still there. So this is coming from our REST framework simple JWT on our view that we were having this error, but this isn't supposed to be there, right? So let's figure out why that is throwing an error. Okay. All right. So it seems like we did not install the spectacular. Okay. Pip install DRF spectacular. So that is what I just ran, and then we are going to be adding that in our settings. Okay. Oh, sorry. That's okay. So it seems our importations has been the problem. Hope my EMV credentials are correct though, so we can actually log them in here. This is the beauty of using IntelliJ paid version, yeah, PyCharm I mean. So my Postgres, yeah. Okay. The username is auth. The password is password. So this is auth system DB. Just confirm that my credentials are actually okay. Yeah, the credentials I added here. They are actually correct. So no tables has been created yet. So our EMV shouldn't be our problem. We are having another importation error. Let's find out. Okay, let's find out where the error is coming from. All right. In our installed app. Okay. All right. So trying to figure out the reason for the error. Okay. So I think there is there is already an app default Django auth, so we shouldn't name our app auth. Yeah, so we can do a refactor rather and rename our app. So we can rename it to user instead. Do a refactor. So when we do a refactor, every other place we have used auth, we change to user. You can see that it automatically changed. So, okay. Hopefully that is our last error. Okay, no module named user. Where did I? Okay. In my URL, where is my section URL? It was changed here. So what is the problem? Okay. All right, let's figure out the reason for these errors and fix it once and for all. Okay. Definitely doesn't have. I don't have any place I'm calling this. Oh wow, these are the places. Wasn't this auth before? So why is it user now? Yeah. Where am I still calling user? So where am I still calling? See, there are places that this really changed. Okay, let me figure that out. Okay, I'm trying to figure out why exactly we are having varieties of errors and how to fix it. Okay, so a minute we are trying to fix this error. So I think I assume it's because of the name that we renamed it. So maybe somewhere in the model or something we are still using auth. Somewhere definitely. It's not in the model. Oh, I should come down, look at it properly to find out exactly. So where are they using auth to be? Alright, let me cross check this my sectors very well. So let me, it seems like my venv is corrupted. So let me delete it. Since I did a rename, let me delete it and reactivate it again. So maybe that will solve our problem somehow. Okay. I don't think you should have that same problem. For as far as you named your app user from the onset, you shouldn't have the problem I am having right now. Yeah. Okay. So let me restore my packages and in the same. So let's wait for this to load. While we wait, okay, it has even loaded. Okay. Right now, let's try our make migrations again, and hopefully it runs this time. I mean, we've encountered so many errors that we have resolved. System check identifies some issue. The feed name, username, field for custom user model must not be included in the required field. Okay, did I not remove it? In my serializer, did I add email in the required? Oh, I did. I did. I did. It shouldn't be there. It is meant for authentication and for the username field. Alright. So you see what the Django is doing? It is helping us correct most of our oversights. So all of this leading or starting slash should be taken out. Okay, is there another field name? Where is field? And I have definitely removed it. Yeah. My serializer. Oh, my model. Did I specify? No, I did not. So what is the problem? Okay, so we are fixing all of our problems. So I hope you learn from these things. Errors, debuggings are part of learning and coding. Yeah. All right. So okay. So I didn't want to set my required feeds, but seems like if I don't set it, the Django automatically. All right. So I didn't show you how I did that. Let me take it out. I didn't want to set my required feeds, but if I don't set it, the Django automatically add it and is adding email. Yeah. So I need to take it out, then define it myself. Username, phone number, and address. These are the required fields. So the Django doesn't have to automatically add whatever it is it feels like adding for me. So it says no changes detected. All right, so let's check our migration. Oh, our migration already ran actually. So it actually ran. And then this is the author name. My table name was user. We added ID, password, last login, is super user, username, first name, last name is staff, active, date joined, email, phone. You see the things that the Django is already adding for us for more protective. The is active, the last time the person was logged in, user permissions, groups, every necessary things. Yeah, so there's something I wanted to show you. So you see that in these migrations we have only 2 files. Yeah, so if I go to this model right now and change my table name to db/user. Yeah, look at my, yeah, let me refresh though, so you can see that this tables was actually created here. Yeah, is it not? So for some reason I don't know why this is not bringing it. Maybe I will check that later anyway. So if I change this db name and if I run another migration, oh sorry, I haven't actually done migrate itself. So let's do another make migration anyways. We've changed name, so you can see another file has been created, author user name, which means we change the table name to user, right? So that's what that migration does. It keeps track of it. Yeah, so let's close it up, go back to our model and return it to our normal name. Remember that there is no table here because I just did make migrations, not migrate itself, right? So now let's do migrate. Every table has been created, so right now we can run this and I expect, okay, tables has been created itself. And I have a user. Didn't I? I didn't make migrations to change this. Oh shit. So we have changed it back. You can see that we have changed it back to rename user, and if you see, you can see another one here. So let's migrate to, so the table name can change. All right, so if I refresh this, so if you are not using PyCharm Pro, that is paid version, that is IntelliJ paid version, you can just check your Postgres to see your table if it has been created or not. But as far as you know that your env is correct, you don't really need to go and be checking anytime. It's because I have it right at my beck and call, that's why you see me checking it constantly. Yeah, all right, so now that seems we have done our migration successfully, so we have to, let's run our code and then move on to see if we can successfully test. Yeah, so let's say python manage.py run server. Okay, so our server has started. So I think we should use let's go ahead and use Postman. Okay. All right, so we can create a new workspace actually, and we can call it let's create a blank workspace, and then let's give it the name. Let's name it auth. No, because you're going to have different collections in this workspace, so we can call it the Django class. You can name yours based on what you want. Yeah, the Django class. All right, so down here we can create a collection and we can call this auth system. All right, so in here we can add a request, so we can call register user, and then we will paste our server link. So it will be slash what again? First of all, go to the settings. So go to the config app, the URL, we said /API/user. Okay. Then slash, for the register, go to the user URL, register. All right. So you know the HTTP method here. We have the get, we have the post, the put, the patch, the delete, head options. The most popular four is the get, post, delete, and put. Get is used to get something from the database, list like retriever. Then post is used to create. Just like we want to register user now, you will use post. Put is for updating. Then patch is for partially updating. Then delete, as the name implies, we delete something from the database. So right now we are going to be using post. And normally you can have authorizations if you are doing an endpoint that requires you to put a BRR token or a basic token. But right now we don't need any of that. So in our header, we don't need to put anything in our header. Then we choose our body. Is a JSON, remember, it's an API, RESTful API. So we have to select raw, make sure it's a JSON, and we are going to be passing a JSON body. Now, the very first thing I want us to pass is the first name. So in this migration, how is our first name spelled? Not together. Okay. Last name. Then the next thing should be user name. Okay, the next thing should be email. And the next thing I think should be password. And I don't think I set minimum and all of that, but let's watch out and see. Okay, so this being said, first name, last name, username, email, and password. Yeah, so I think that is it. My phone number, my address, I literally forgot that. Okay, the address. All right, so now the first name we are going to say Princess. The last name we will say Priska. The username we can say Priska101. The phone number we can use any random number. Okay. Then the address we can use Abuja. For the email we can use Priska 2020. And the password we can, let's try OGO and see what the Django is doing for us. So with this, let's hit our send and see what the error is again. So it says save create online. Let's start from the beginning. Dispatch line 17 in the views. User equals user.save. Save instance, save, create, updated, validated. The key error is the email. In our view, create. So what could be the problem? Okay, let's find out what the problem is. Okay. All right. I think this email that I removed here, it was supposed to, when I was checking for, yeah, so that was supposed to be removed, added here, which we did. So we didn't let her return it here. So I think that was a problem. So let's try again. Okay, was this restarting? Okay, it has restarted now. Enter a valid email address. Okay, because we did not put at gmail.com, we expected it to fail, right? So you see what the Django is doing for us. Aside from the fact that in my model I did email feed, the Django will also check it for you. So we say at gmail.com, all right. Then user created successfully. This is the username, this is the email, this is the phone number and address. We are not returning the password, remember. So now let's call another request, which should be our login request. And say, of course, our login is a post. We are getting something for the database. I mean, we are sending something to the database, right? So we should be saying let's copy these two things down to this place. All right, let's try the wrong password. Username, this field is required. User with this email already exists. Oh, sorry, I am calling to register. Okay, so a type error, API/user/login. Is that not it? Why is it a type error? So it says this, but 4 we are given in my base serializer. In my serializer, where is my login? 1 2 3. Yes, is this not okay? All right. But first, let's find out the actual purpose for that error. All right. All right. We are trying to fix this error. Okay. Okay, so this should throw an error. Okay, let's try that. Some error. Okay, sorry about that. Let's fix this finally. All right, we are almost there. Okay. We are almost there. I think we should return our packs because that doesn't seem to be the problem. Then right here we can, or we should pass our packs to here. Okay. Okay. That seems to be the same thing. Alright, let's try again. I'm stuck in the same error. What is going on? Non object has no. Am I calling ID? Take it out. Take it out. Wait, calm down. So what is this? Okay, let's figure that out. And so I might have messed something up. Alright, we are trying to fix this error. Is it because of the none I'm using? Okay, we'll figure that out. Let me fix that. I'll show you guys. Alright, alright, alright. Okay. Alright, so I think this should fix it. Authenticate, the request, the email, the password. This should definitely fix it. So I'm checking for user. If not, no. I'm checking if user is not active. Then I'm returning the refresh token and the very necessary things. So if you are looking to see that, you can see the new changes I did, the login, down here to the response message. So let's try again. Okay, invalid email or password. So we passed in the wrong email. So let's try again. Sorry, wrong password. Not implement error at login. Okay. It wasn't implemented. Alright. Let's fix that. So I think this should be coming from the view itself this time around. Yes. So I mean, shouldn't I be using generic API view? And alright, let's move on to that part. Where is my login? I think I should be using generic API view, and after that I should handle it like TX. Alright, so okay. Oh wow, we successfully logged in. We successfully logged in successfully without issues. That was wonderful. Extremely wonderful. Okay, so this is our refresh token and this is our actual token, so you can log in, and if you want to authenticate any endpoint, you can always use this access token to authenticate endpoint. And even you are testing an endpoint that requires authentication, you can come to this authorization right here, bearer token, and then you can paste your token. You can open the eyes to see it. Yeah, so I think with this, we have officially come to the end of this auth system tutorial. Thank you for watching with us, and thank you for um, attending this tutorial. Thank you. Okay.